Hey everybody, BrianLabs.net. Okay, so what I'm going to show you in Creator, I'm going to show you two examples that you can use as like a layout set of examples for both a widget and a interface. So let me show you what I'm. First, I think it's really important that we understand where everything's at with Qt5 versus Qt4, Python, and C++. So just a little backstory here. When I started looking at Qt4, there was a tool called Qt Designer, which was separate from Qt Creator, which I'll show you in a minute. It used QML, and it had a utility called this that was able to convert into Python. Worked fine, and here's the example. Well, that was a few years ago. The only way I could get it running, and I've shown examples of this, is using Ubuntu Linux. And you can install it with Qt4, but it's kind of dated now. I'm sure at some point it's eventually going to get dropped, and I think at some point it's just safer to stay with Qt5. Just because this is more proprietary technology, and I know for sure at some point you will not be able to get Qt4, be able to install Qt Designer. So I think in a way we're going to be stuck with this with Qt5. Now because of that, I did some research a little bit with Qt5, looking for Qt Designer, and specifically looking for anything equivalent of this utility but with Qt5. Now, it looks like it's been totally abandoned. I will say that when you do search on Google for something like this, but the Qt5 equivalent, you will find this Python package and this Python package are only available. PyQt, PySide. If anything, this one's probably more mature. But at the end of the day, you're still hand coding, which I don't really like. And as I said, I've tried to convert or search on Google this search query, Qt5 Python, and really it only pointed me to these two packages. Now, for me, I like rapid application development utilities. Good examples, obviously Qt Creator, which I'll show you in a minute, as well as maybe Visual Studio is a good example, or even the IBM Rational Rows, which is kind of getting more and more obsolete as time passes. So I'm not into hand coding. I like using these kind of utilities. So that is a requirement for me, at least for me. And the only option that you have for Qt and Python for RAD development tools, they're all open source, and they're really buggy, and they're really no go as an option. Today I read a book here called Application Development Qt Creator. Get this link here. And from what I understand, there's really only two options when it comes to Qt5. There's Qt Creator. And the only deployment options really are available is Qt Creator for C++ or Qt Quick for QML, which is built on QML, which is a proprietary JavaScript-like language, but it's also specifically used for mobile development in Qt. From my understanding, that's for both Android and iOS. And this seems to be pretty limited, kind of wonky. The Qt Quick, I don't know, I don't feel good about it, but I don't think I'm going to really use that. So that comes back to Qt Creator is our only option. So I played around a lot with this stuff for the last few days, and I went through this book, a set of books, there's two listed here, and as I said, there's virtually, excuse me, the first one here is called Qt Blueprints, which is kind of useless because it just shows examples. And I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, but the only useful one is this one. So that's the one I read earlier today, which led me to where I'm summarizing where I think Qt5 is at in terms of deployment options for language deployment is either, again, using Qt Creator for C++ or Qt Quick for this QML. So I really think I could be wrong. I want to be told I'm wrong outside of what's available for Qt4 with Python. That for Qt5, all we have is really these two options: Qt Creator for C++ or Qt Quick for QML. If I'm wrong with other language deployment, please let me know. So that leads me to our good friend now, this Qt Creator. This is Qt Creator 5.6, and this is the latest version. So when you come under Welcome and when you set it up, go under Examples. What you're looking for are two examples that you can use for interface. Remember, this is only for the C++ deployment. So really, the two options that you have are gallery and a widget as well. So if you look up under style sheet, under examples, maybe style, but something like that. But I'll specifically, these are the examples that you're going to look for. This first one here called style sheet. This is ready to go. And let me just run it for you. So you can see it's doing a build. Here's the style sheet that's available. Looks like you can render it automatically. Some, controls here in this form. So radio buttons, radio, what do you call these, control lists, password protected, list, as well as some other menu options, some click and blah, 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 whatever, okay? That's pretty basic stuff. Now there's also the gallery option as another example project. So let me just load that up. This one here called gallery. So let me just load that. And these are pretty well the only examples that you have available to use as a reference to roll out potential user interfaces. As you can see, you can render it. I'm no expert in interface design for sure, by no means. Click, 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 radio button, checkbox. What do you call these? I guess switches, as they call them, progress bars. Input, text field, password, so on and so forth. Different combo boxes, spin boxes, and so on and so forth, and a control to enable everything or disable everything. So that is good. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. That's probably the quickest way to see some examples of some interface stuff that you get with Qt Creator out of box when you install it. Let me just show you example source code. Let's check out the gallery. So here you have obviously the source files, resources that you need, QML. I think that's generated under the hood, and the build process. So I guess this is the available code. So I'll probably go through this later on, but I think this is pretty well the only option that you have. And yeah, you can use this as a role model for your own interfaces using Qt and C++. But remember, it is proprietary to Qt. So it's not pure C++, but it's just like a bastardized version of C++ with the Qt framework, as well as, the compiler is different. You're not using GCC, you're using QMake, and so forth. So I just want everybody to understand that. And sorry, you're not using the generic make, you're using QMake, but you're still using, in Mac OS 10, Xcode is needed to install this. So the underlying compiler is a CLang, which is obviously the compiler in Xcode from Apple. Okay, so just be aware of that. But here's some interface options, examples that you can use as role models. I'll go through the source code, see what I can make of it, and go from there. Okay, so hopefully I'll help you out. Talk to you later.